Okay, so we got the brand new banners for Nilou, and I want to talk about them. I'm also going to talk about Nahida, who got some interesting changes as of today. So I wanted to go over that before we go, while we go into the Nilou stuff. So I don't give you too many. I'm not going to go over any leaks in this video. I will go over some things that you need to be aware of, so that you don't, screw yourself over. Jump into it. All right, so we have the new characters for the Nilou and Albedo banner. Okay, so the Nilou and Albedo banners are going to have the new characters. Of course, we have Zhang, Beidou, and Barbara. So as far as 4-star characters go, if you're newer to Genshin and you have not been playing for a while, 2 of the 3 characters on this banner are exceptionally good for you. So Zhang being one of the strongest characters in the entire game for you to pick up. Very good character. Kind of tops out at Constellation 4, and you don't need to go past that point, but this is a big thing that you're going to need to get. If you are been playing for a while and you haven't gotten any Beidou constellations are very important as well. Once she gets past C2, she starts ramping up really heavily. Between C2 and C6, she gets stronger and stronger, and it gets way good. So overall, those 2 characters are exceptionally strong in the current state of the game. They're both in the Dendro setup of the meta, as well as the past metas with Raiden Shogun, etc. So they are very good characters to have and get constellations for. So all in all, the banners between the Albedo banner as well as the Nilou banner look pretty interesting. But there are 2 things I want to talk about for both Albedo and Nilou, and I want to talk about them specifically. So for Albedo specifically, I want to talk about him, and I want to talk about why I don't think anybody should be picking up Albedo at this current state of the game. So for Albedo specifically, one of the things about him that's very cool is that he offers a large amount of damage on side procs to enemies and doesn't necessarily need a lot to do it. You can do it with a 4-star weapon that you have easy access to, and he's pretty strong. However, he has one big flaw on his kit, and that's going to be for most Dendro things going forward. He actually is going to create lots of crystallized reactions, which can then actually hamper you when you're trying to do lots of reactions on the field. But it doesn't actually super affect when you're doing Dendro reactions fully, but as you can see, there are some crystallized reactions that are on the floor. These are eating some of the reactions that are happening right now and kind of nerfing the actual potential of Dendro. So if you are looking to build Dendro teams, one of the big issues that I have found with Albedo is he is a character that kind of nerfs Dendro teams in a little bit. He only does that when, of course, when you have Hydro or Electro applied to enemies, and you can't really do it with the other types of the elements. But with Albedo specifically, I do find he does kind of nerf Dendro teams, making them a little bit harder to get reactions on because he does eat some of the reactions with his crystallized potential, making it so that you get less Bloom reactions or maybe potentially less Hyper Bloom reactions because you're not going to be triggering it at the right time. So it does create some problems. Now, seeing how Bloom does have kind of like pseudo-quadratic scaling where you're able to, like, the number of enemies that are on the field can directly determine how many reactions they're going to get. You can get a very large amount of reactions anyways, so it may not fully negatively interact with you. But when you can't control the reaction potential of your characters, it can be a big negative. So for Albedo, I would just recommend skipping him entirely this time around because he does kind of make it a little bit harder to run Dendro team compositions for future because he does eat a lot of the reactions. Now, with Albedo, the other big issue with him right now is that he does have a 4-star weapon that is not accessible by all players, and it was only accessible during an event that happened last year. So if you're newer to Genshin, this may not be the right choice for you as far as the character goes. The only other weapons that you actually have access to that do very well for him are the Harbinger, the Dawn for a free-to-play option, or potentially even the Jade Cutter if you're looking for a 5-star option, which is actually going to be another thing we're going to be talking about on this video. But all in all, Albedo is a really fun character, very cool to play with your Ito teams, but I have found lately that the constructs that we actually have for Albedo are getting walked over a little bit more often and getting broken a lot. So I do feel like he is a character that I don't really want to say that it's a great pickup right now because a lot of the enemies are breaking constructs a lot easier. Now, as far as Nilou goes, though, Nilou looks like an incredible character for a lot of early game players because what I can tell about her kit is the #1 thing that you want to build for Nilou is going to be just directly HP percentage. And that's the easiest possible artifact that you can actually get in the game right now for a lot of different sets. You can use her with the 2-piece Mililith set, a lot of different things, and it feels like that's going to be the overall best build for her because of the way she deals increases your damage for your team. Now, I'm not going to get too far into how Nilou is going to actually work as far as her abilities go and the scalings go, but essentially the major thing that you're going to want to focus on just to trigger what's called bountiful cores is going to be HP. And you're not going to need a lot of hydro percentage damage. You're not going to need a ton of crit chance or crit damage. You're basically relying on the procs of creating bountiful cores. Now, crit chance and crit damage will, of course, help you a lot by getting a little bit more damage for Nilou specifically, but the core damage that you're going to be dealing is going to be based off of the dendro cores that you create when doing her reactions. So the way you do that is by using a hydro character first and then using a dendro character following that and to create bountiful cores. And the bountiful cores are very strong because they have a very large bloom radius and they do a ton of damage. So just know that that's probably going to be the best way to be playing Nilou in the future and getting some type of off-field dendro application along with Nilou. She is basically kind of a pseudo hydro driver for dendro damage, and that's kind of very, very cool as dendro characters go because of what actually happened to Nahida today when a lot of people were talking about leaks. Now again, I am not going to be talking about leaks in this video, but what I can tell you is that there was a certain change to Nahida that everyone was talking about today, and it was in the beta version. The cliff notes are it's really good. She's going to be incredibly strong and will pair exceptionally well with Nilou. That's the cliff notes, and that's all you need to know about that if you're not into leaks. If you know about leaks and know what's going on, the short version is it was a big buff. All in all, if you are considering going for Nilou, you will probably have to get Nahida, which will probably be on the following banner starting next patch. So make sure that you have enough primos to get both if you do want to get both. But the Nahida is the character that you're probably going to want to pick up over Nilou in general, unless you really have a waifu, thing to scratch. All right, and as far as the weapon banner goes, there are two different weapons that are on the weapon banner that are super spicy. First off, we have the Key of Kaj Nizut, which is the brand new weapon. And this weapon I'll be going over and who can use it. The short version on that one is it's probably just Nilou, and I'll go over why in a little bit. And of course, the Primordial Jade Cutter. Now, the Jade Cutter is increasing in viability as time is going on. When it first came out, didn't really have a lot of characters that could use it, but now that time is going on and there's more sword characters being added, and the of course introduction of Al-Haytham and of course what's his name? Ayato. A lot of characters can use the Jade Cutter, and it is a very strong weapon to pick up just for a giant stat stick, but of course is not the best in slot weapon for pretty much every character in the game, which is a very interesting weapon because it's a really good universal weapon that's not really insane on everybody, but it's very good on a lot of people. Now, the two other weapons that we really got to talk about, of course, are the brand new 4-stars that are on the banner, which are the new Zephos Blade as well as the Wandering Evanstar. And these two weapons are exceptionally important to talk about for the current state of the game, as well as the future characters coming out. So if you are planning to summon for Nahida, definitely stay tuned for this part. Also note that we are going to get those 10 free summons that are going to be starting right after Nilou's release. So just know that Sino's leaving and we're not going to be able to get them at the same time. Big sad. Okay, so because this info is going to be dropped in literally like, I don't know, half an hour or whatever, probably before this, essentially what I will say, because apparently they just didn't want to release the info for the weapons, the weapon for Nilou is a sword, and it's only going to be good for Nilou.
Got him.
It's going to be scaling on a stat that Nilou scales on. That part's not leaking no matter what I say. And it's not going to be good for Kuki Shinobu. We did the math. It's not good for her. It could be good for a healing build for her, but you might as well use a Favonius sword, okay? Just giving you a heads up, this sword is not good for anybody but Nilou, okay? Just a tip, okay? But the Zephos Blade potentially could be really, really strong for two different characters in Genshin. The first of which being Kuki Shinobu, who is a character moving very forward to the limelight that I have liked since her release. She's a very strong character for creating elemental reactions with Dendro, as well as creating a lot of reactions in general outside of Dendro. So she's a very, very good character. And it also is a very good weapon for potentially Kazuha. Just between the two characters, those two characters are going to thrive very, very heavily on these weapons. And I'll give you the stats a little bit later on them. They'll probably be released at some point. Anyways. All right. Back at it. Well. All right, so we found the passives from a Genshin official post a while ago. It says the passive of the weapon is an HP percentage weapon that's when an elemental skill hits an opponent, you are granted a hem for 20 seconds. This effect increases the equipping character's elemental mastery by 0.12% of their HP, and this effect can trigger every 0.3 seconds for the max of 3 stacks. When this effect gains 3 stacks, or on the 3rd stack duration is refreshed, the elemental mastery of all nearby party members will be increased by 0.2% of the character's max HP. So in essence, Nilou does one thing, okay? For her weapon, let's see if we can get where's the weapon banner? So for Nilou's weapon, it's gonna be an HP weapon, most likely. Probably an HP main stat too. We don't know, but
Bye, Frog.
But we kind of know. And this weapon's gonna buff the rest of your team and give them EM based on Nilou's HP. So the thing that you gotta know for Nilou is you're gonna want as much HP as possible to then transfer Elemental Mastery to the rest of your team. What that's gonna do is that she's gonna create an HP kind of pseudo self buff that's gonna pass on to your other characters, and she's gonna be the HP percentage driving character, while the other characters on your team are going to have all Elemental Mastery and do mad lad elemental reactions. So that's kind of what she does. But, you know, of course, you can only use 2 Hydro characters and 2 Dendro characters or something close to that. Okay? So those are kind of interesting. Now, the next weapon is going to be the Zephos Moonlight. And this is the big sword for Kazuha that we talked about. The following trigger effect is for 10 seconds, and the equipping character will gain 0.036% energy recharge for each point of elemental mastery that they possess for 12 seconds. So as in the character that equips it, which is going to be, let's just say Kazuha in this instance, that has, let's say, 1000 elemental mastery, will gain 0.036% energy recharge for every point of elemental mastery. That comes out to be 1000 elemental mastery times 0.036 is 36% energy recharge. Just simply, just this 36%. I don't know why I needed a calculator for that. I just wanted to show it on the screen, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, but then at max refine, because this usually effect doubles, that means at maximum refine, this weapon will give 72% energy recharge to Kazuha. Now, one of the biggest problems with Kazuha, a lot of people said they had, was that they don't have enough energy recharge. So this weapon will give Kazuha a lot of elemental mastery and energy recharge and be great for him. This weapon will also be good for Kuki Shinobu, who of course doesn't really have a weapon that really works well for her besides the Iron Sting. So if you wanted to use this on Kuki Shinobu for extra energy recharge, it'd be great for her too. However, I think it would be best for Kazuha, and then using the Iron Sting then on Kuki Shinobu would be the better choice. Now, the other thing this does is it, of course, gives nearby party members 30% of this buff for the same duration. So if you did have refined 1 of this weapon and you wanted to figure out exactly how much you're giving each party member on your team in a total of about 11% energy recharge for the entire team. So that's a pretty darn good buff. And if you're doing this at refined 5, that's going to be a 21% energy recharge buff to the entire team for just the weapon. So that's a very strong weapon to actually pick up. So if you're looking to boost out your Kazuha and provide more buffs to your team and you don't have a freedom sword, this could be a very, very good option for you in the future. So just know that that's going to be a great weapon. Now, the second weapon, which is the most important weapon, which is going to be the Wandering Evenstar. Where is that at? Now, this weapon is going to be the Catalyst. This Catalyst is very important to talk about because it will be a great weapon for Nahida, the new Dendro Archon. The following effect is going to trigger on this weapon every 10 seconds. The equipping character will gain 24% of their elemental mastery bonus as attack for 12 seconds, with nearby party members getting 30% of this buff for the same duration. As in, this weapon will actually provide an attack percentage buff to your entire team based on the current character's elemental mastery. So if you're not going to be subbing for Nahida's weapon and you're looking for a weapon that you can actually get, which would be super, super nice to have for a 4-star supporting weapon, and you're not going for 5-star weapons, this is a great possible pickup weapon that you can use. Now, the thing with both of these weapons that you've got to know is both of these weapons have the new mechanic, which is multiple instances of this weapon can allow this buff to stack. So if you ended up getting like 2 characters with these weapons in general and lots of different versions of these weapons, you can give lots of different buffs to your entire team based on attack, and you can actually transfer a lot of that to your main DPS. So for example, if you're getting 24% of the elemental mastery as attack and you have 1000 elemental mastery, 240 attack, right? And then at max refine, that would be 480 attack, which is a pretty sizable buff. So if you did want to get refines in this weapon slowly over time, that is a very cool weapon to actually pick up for you as a 4-star weapon. And if you are a person that does summon on weapon benders but don't necessarily get lucky for the 5 stars that you want and want to slowly pick this up over time, this weapon is insane, and I definitely recommend picking up this weapon at some point for some type of supporting potential. Especially because the only real weapon that we actually have right now for supporting for potential for Catalyst is going to be the Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer. And that weapon, of course, is not going to be a great weapon for a lot of people because it has an HP percentage main stat. So now we have a weapon that's going to boost your entire team instead of just one character, and the buff can actually transfer for a universal duration, which is really nice. It doesn't actually have to doing it just triggers every 10 seconds. This effect triggers while not on the field, so you don't even have to actually trigger the weapon. There's no elemental reactions. It just actually passively works all the time, which is super cool. So both of these weapons are super cool. I definitely recommend picking up at least one copy of these for your characters so that you have a lot of options going forward. Now, of course, good luck on your Nahida summons, everybody. The buffs for Nahida today were pretty lit. I'm very excited, but that's going to do it for this video. My name's Sekapoko. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys are going to do for your summons in the comment section down below. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.